Please keep in mind, yes, this video does have copyrighted material in it. However, it can be detected under the copyright law of 1976 and fair use alone. And that's what it is. It's for fair use and educational purposes. Thank you. You know what my real philosophy is? Like my real philosophy? Just because it's not Halloween doesn't mean it can't be Halloween every day. Ooh! And you know what really two things what can help with that? B monster movies and Garage Rock, which Garage Rock we'll be talking about today. Now, originally, this was going to be a full-on history of Garage Rock, which they'll have history elements to it, don't get me wrong. But it's too much research, and plus, Garage Rock is supposed to be a raw form of music. So it only makes sense we keep this raw too. Oh, Garage Rock, Garage Rock, Garage Rock. One of my all-time favorite genres. What kicked off the punk movement in the 70s and onward. To be honest, Garage Rock is just so real and raw and primal. Kind of like rockabilly of the 50s. It's just one of those branches of rock and roll what can never really be soft. And the day I'm gonna do this, this is gonna be my tribute video to one of the greatest genres of all time. And there's a point I'm gonna make in the end, so stay tuned for that. Now, before we can really understand Garage Rock and where it came from, you kind of have to understand the early 60s itself. And also what came before Garage Rock, Surf Rock. Though, these genres do seem to crash together. That's the word I'm looking for, crash. Now, when we look at surf rock, we mostly think of, like, the Beach Boys. But to be honest, there was more and more dangerous surf rock out there, too. And when I say dangerous, I mean some your parents wouldn't like. I mean, you had Dick Dale, you had, Ray, you know, Dick Dale, you had Link Way, sorry, I had to think of his name for a second for some reason, and so on and so on. These guys did it themselves DIY style, so really, if you think about it, surf kinda opened the door for what mid-60s garage rock was. Another thing to keep in mind, 1961, 1962, 1963, it was kind of a slew year of rock and roll. Meaning, it didn't really have a focus anymore. Being a place with R&B, soul, and all that stuff, which are good musics, by the way. But the thing is, really, surf rock was really the only form of rock and roll that was legitimate at the time. Not to say there wasn't good music out there back then, because there was. It was just, rock and roll was sort of bit in the dust. It also was kind of a dark time for the country as well. Following the death of JFK and Martin Luther King, we kind of felt the loss of innocence at the time. So we needed something to really lift our spirits up. What was that something, you ask? January 1964, we saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show for the first time. Now, this was a pinnacle moment. I know people talk about this moment all the time, but really, this was the pinnacle that broke the back. Meaning, it gave kids something to pick up a guitar and wanting to do it. And really, that's what it was, really. So, if Surf Rock was the catalyst, the Beatles were the horsemen to really bring a forfeit. Following 1965, there was like a whole bunch of garage rock bands all over the country of America. Now, today, we're going to talk about some of these bands. Of course, you got the classic, like, 96 Tears by Question Mark and the Assyrians, which was a one-hit wonder. Now, you're going to see a pattern here. A lot of these bands, if not all of them, were one-hit wonders. Now, this could just be there was a lot of great music back then, and in hindsight, you couldn't play everything. But I think there's a more deeper element to this. You see, there was no internet back then, so you had to use radio, or go buy a record itself. So really, these bands kind of fought under austerity over time. And Question Mark and the Assyrians is one of them. Now, to be fair, even though how much I love this band, they were kind of just a one-hit wonder. Just because their songs were good, but none of their other songs fit the bill of like 96 Tears. But still a good band overless. And of course, my personal favorite, The Witch by the Sonics. This song was actually banned off radio for the time because it was considered edgy. And by the way, wait until my message in the end. I think it kind of goes along with this. It's very brash and kind of fast. Like, you can see, if this was played in a certain way, this could be like a straight up punk song. Now it's time for my message. Folks, we need to go back to what rock and roll was. That doesn't mean we need to copy the past or anything. Though I would argue we need to take elements from it. I mean more, we need to take what made rock and roll great and really start challenging the norms again. Rock and roll is always supposed to be, even though this may be an overblown word nowadays, progressive in nature. Though, I think there's another element. Rock and roll is supposed to be primal. It's supposed to be loud. It's supposed to be ruckus. Rock and roll is, rock and roll is folk music, to quote Lux Interior, for the people. That's what it is and always has been. So really, if we're going to save rock and roll, yes, we need to think forward, but we also have to think of what made rock and roll great in the first place. Thank you.